Hi everyone, this is your girl Rosita Cooper, and we're on Living Your Dreams with Rosita. And today my special guest is Michael Grecco. How you doing today?
Doing great, Rosita. Thank you. Thank you for having me, and I'm glad we have your wonderful audience listening.
Oh, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate you. And everyone, Michael Grecco is a celebrity photographer, and I've seen a lot of your work, and you've done some awesome work. And I can't wait for you to, actually get me one day.
Okay, you're on. You got it.
I'm gonna take that. I'm gonna hold you to that. Okay, so give them a little bit about yourself. Where you from, and just any information that you want them to have, and then we're going to go into the question process.
All right. So everyone always asks me like how I got started. So I grew up in suburban New York, just outside of New York City. As a kid, I was always going down to the Museum of Modern Art and very interested in music and culture, jazz. I listened to jazz as a young teen. And in summer camp, I learned the darkroom. I was like a geek and was hanging out in the science shack a lot because it was nice and cool. But I learned how to process film and make prints, and I got hooked in photography. And then later went to college to study photojournalism and photography, and started working for the Associated Press at 19 years old. Did that for a while. At night, I was a club kid, so I have a new book coming out in November called Punk, Post-Punk, New Wave, On Stage, Backstage, and In Your Face. So I have a music book coming out in November with Abrams Publishing. Then I got a staff job at the Boston Herald, worked there for about 4 or 5 years until I was invited to work for People magazine, and moved from Boston, where I was going to school, to Los Angeles to work for People magazine. And I've never looked back. So it's been a good ride.
I can tell you started real early. Okay, so you actually have published many books. I see that you bestseller books.
Yes, I have 4 books. I have 2 lighting books. The second was a bestseller. And I did a book of portraits of people at the Adult Video Awards and Expo. And now I have this other culture, underground culture book of punk rock and the music world.
Nice. So how was it getting started so early and stuff? I know you said at 19 you started working for was the Essence? Then
the Associated Press. The Associated Press.
Okay, so how was it being that young, working at a place like that?
Well, I mean, being that young, you don't have life lessons, and you make a lot of mistakes because you're young and you're ambitious, but you've got a lot of ego, and you're probably not the best listener in the world, and I think everyone has that part of you that you want to turn back the clock just a little bit and say, if I had only wished I had done that differently.
Exactly, because
but none of us could do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, go ahead.
At a young age, I started being like the lead and the supervisor and manager on jobs and stuff. And a lot of those places I worked at, I was like, oh, if I could have just stayed there a little while longer. But like you said, you got that, basically you're young and you feel as though you can go anywhere else,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it was a life learning experience. Being a photographer is an interesting career because it's all about problem solving, and to make the work better, you're constantly either solving a photographic problem or learning to deal with people in a new way, right? Learning to be a better person, communicate better, manage different situations all the time. I mean, I've shot some actors who are raging alcoholics and been screaming on set, and you have to learn to ride the wave, and be flexible and do things that, be adaptable. So it's an interesting Yeah, it's an interesting experience.
Exactly. And I looked at your website and stuff, and I seen a lot of your photos. You have some awesome photos and stuff. And it takes someone special to have that eye, to take the real good photos and stuff. Because being in Atlanta, there's a lot of people that feel as though they're a photographer, but they can, if they not taking the picture correctly, you can make something that is so beautiful look ugly. But then, a person, an awesome photographer like you can take something ugly and have it beautiful.
That's part of the job sometimes.
Exactly. It's like catching the beauty in anything and stuff, So
that's definitely part of the job sometimes. Exactly. So
exactly. So you give everyone some name of some people that you have actually been their personal photographer and stuff in the industry?
Yeah, I've never been a personal photographer. I mean, the closest thing was Danica McKellar, the woman who plays Winnie Cooper on The Wonder Years, where we did one shoot together, and then I did all of her like 6-book math books. She put out a lot of math books. Math Doesn't Suck and Kiss My Math. So she was sort of an idol to young teenage girls, and to get them to appreciate math. And I would do all of those book covers for her. So, I mean, that's the closest I've come. I'm usually hired by the magazine to do something, and not by the celebrity. So.
Okay, yeah. Okay, I seen the magazine and stuff. So who are some people that you actually took that the magazine hired you to take?
I've shot a lot of people. I mean, my favorite thing to do is my wife and I are looking at a movie, and I'm like, I shot them. And it's a good movie, and I've shot like 4 of them. It's like, I've done this for over 30 years, so I've shot a lot of people. Your wonderful audience will have to go to my website, michaelgrecco.com.
Yes, go to his website. You will see a lot of his work. And on the flyer as well, I put a couple of the pictures down there that you took at one of the magazine covers. 2 other photos that you have is on the flyer as well.
Oh, great.
Yes. So tell us about your wife and kids and stuff. So any one of your kids have taken up the photography thing?
Well, my oldest, my son, is studying to do virtual reality game programming. Nice. And my middle daughter wants to be an illustrator. So it's almost the other side of the coin. Like, there are photographers and illustrators that work for magazines and books. So I actually it's a tough business. So I actually have been encouraging her to go into animation or the motion side of it, but she'll figure it out. She's really, really smart, and she'll figure out what she wants to do. And you got to leave your kids to make their own path, right? So, but no photographers in the family. Dad was enough.
Okay, so where originally are you from?
So I grew up in New York. I was born in the Bronx in New York City. Grew up in Westchester County, which is just above the New York City line. Went to school in Boston, and I've been here in Santa Monica, California for over 20 years now.
Okay, nice. So tell them again where they can find your book. I know michaelgrecco.com, y'all, is his website. But I know your bestsellers and stuff. So tell them where they can find your books.
There's probably copies of all of my books on Amazon. So if you just look up Michael Grecco, Grecco, you'll find them. I don't link to them on the website. I guess I should. But the Days of Punk book, the punk, post-punk, and new wave book will be out on November 10th.
Nice.
So that's not out yet.
Nice. So are you working on anything right now?
I'm Working with two producer friends, and we're about to pitch and start development for a television series about photographers.
Mhm.
And I've got a lot of projects in the works. So I'm gearing up for the release of the book, which will have gallery shows with it and some museum shows with it, and we are just moving forward with everything that I can. So I've got a business. I've got a business that defends other photographers and my own copyright. I'm working on a startup company. I'm working on two different startup companies that are just in the works, and I can't really discuss. But I love being a photographer and realizing how to problem solve and getting good at with personal relationships and friendships and learning a lot. Being just the experience of being a photographer, learning about different businesses and things like that has gotten me very entrepreneurial. So I really enjoy that.
Nice. Okay. So your wife, tell us about your wife.
My wife worked for me about 15 years ago, and she's a very amazing, successful photographer herself. Beautiful work. I had an ebook publishing company at one time, and she came to me, after us not working together for about 10 years and said, "Hey, I see that you have an ebook publishing company." And we started talks about publishing her photography book as an ebook.
Uh-huh.
And it didn't quite work out for us to publish her work. But then I was on her mailing list.
Uh-huh.
And she's actually been working on a project on exotic dancers.
Okay.
And she's traveled all over the world photographing at strip clubs and doing portraits in people's homes. And she knew I had done the book on the Adult Video Awards, Naked Ambition. And we had dinner one night and fell in love, and that was it. Been together about 3.5 years. So
photography brought y'all together.
That's true. Yes.
So do y'all do a lot of projects together, or do y'all work?
Well, we'd love to have a show together. I'd love to have a show of my punk work with her stripper work. So it would be themes that would work together, I think.
Nice. Okay. So, and your family and stuff, your parents and sisters and brothers. You have any sisters and brothers, siblings?
Well, I have a brother that's 14 years younger than I am and still lives in the New York State, the tri-state area. He lives in Connecticut. I see him on occasion, but there are so many years apart. There are so many years apart that we're not that close, but we're in different worlds. He's a contractor. We're just very different culturally, but I just found out I have a sister that I didn't know about. So, yeah, and I don't think my dad ever knew. He was dating someone and then fell in love with my mom, and the woman who was pregnant never told her that she was pregnant. So through ancestry, I found out that I have a sister. And she lives in Texas with her husband, and we're planning on getting together around Thanksgiving. So.
Oh, that is nice. Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know they got to be excited, because I know I would be excited if I was in a situation like that.
I am. She looks exactly like my dad. It's pretty amazing.
Nice. Okay, so on Living Your Dreams with Rosita, I have a testimonial part. Okay, so the testimonial part is basically telling, anything that happened to you that made you almost want to give up or feel like that you wanted to, stop what you was doing and stuff. And how did you get past that?
I think those things happened. I think those things happened to me when I was younger, and it just like getting. Starting at the Associated Press, it's like a lot of people at the Associated Press, a lot of the photographers were in the military. So they were like drill sergeants. They were really tough. In fact, one was a military photographer, like a world-class award-winning military photographer. And they were all just like really, really tough. You should have done this. You should have done that. Why didn't you do this? Why didn't you think about that? And it's like, I'm 19 years old. I'm working for the Associated Press. I thought that was pretty good, but it's like, you got beaten up, and you just had to continue. Since I was a kid, I didn't think I wanted to do anything else. So it's almost as if I didn't have another choice. Like, this was my thing,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So do you feel as though that they was drilling you, almost kind of like being that father figure, and you were just young and felt as though, hey, look, get off my back, but they was like,
I was young and felt like I get off my back. I'm sure many people in our audience, like, but that's part of growing up, right? Becoming a better listener, taking a breath, like putting your ego aside, realizing that when people say things, it's not always about you. It's often about them, Yeah. So, it's having that older perspective that a 19-year-old who wants to prove himself doesn't necessarily have. So.
I know. I used to be the same way. That's why I knew that it was like, hey, get off my back now. I got this, leave me alone. You ain't got to tell me everything,
Exactly.
Bro, you actually learn this stuff because you realize that the people that are older than you, especially if they're around your parents' age and grandparents' age, they basically looked at you like, okay, this is my son. And, hey, he going to take over one day, so you need to know this, you need to do this. So, yeah, it's good to have those people around. As you get older, you start appreciating it more. Instead of, be like, leave me alone.
That's true.
Okay, so anything else that you want them to know that before we leave?
No, I'm happy to have spent time with you and our audience, and check out the site. You can ping me at info@michaelgrecco.com.
Okay.
And let me know what you think. So.
Awesome. Okay, y'all be looking for his book. Like I said, he's a bestseller. And I see something about director as well on your.
Yeah, I directed a documentary feature film that was on Netflix called Naked Ambition, an R-rated look at an X-rated industry that had to do with the book on the Adult Video Awards.
Yes. Okay.
And I when I shoot advertising jobs, I direct usually like the web commercial for it. So I've done some directing. I like it.
Nice. I love directing. Yes. Well, you need to get more into that then, because that's kind of like the part of the eye. You got that eye. So when you got that eye for the camera and stuff, you got that director's eye too a lot of times.
Right. No, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, because you're seeing what a lot of people don't see.
That is true.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, okay. So I want you to give the audience some inspiring words that you feel as though that they can grow from for the rest of their life, and they can teach their kids, and their kids can teach their kids.
Well, I think first of all, I think whatever you do, you want to do something that makes you happy, that you love doing, right? Because otherwise you're not going to be successful at it. And then you have to have perseverance. I think the only way to success is to have perseverance, because if it's not working, you have to figure out how to make it work. And it'll adapt and it'll change, but just having some perseverance and figuring out how to make it work is going to be really helpful.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for being on Living Your Dreams, Rosita. And I really appreciate you. Y'all make sure that y'all go to michaelgrecco.com, check out his books, check out his work. He's an awesome photographer, and hire him for some things and stuff, because you're gonna love his work.
Thank you.
I'm big on photography. I'm a selfie queen, so. But I was that kid also that walked around with a camera all the time. So
nice.
So I understand exactly. That's why one of the reasons why I was so excited to be interviewing you and stuff, because to
Thank
actually
you.
talk to a photographer on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Appreciate having our audience here today.
Well, thank you for being here. And y'all have been watching Living Your Dreams with Rosita, with Rosita Cooper and Michael Grecco. And thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, peace and love, peace and blessings, and let no one and nothing stop you from following your dreams. Peace.
Take care, all.